Okay, it says we are live. If we are, hello out there in Spaceland. Welcome to another Roughshod Ramblings. This is a spontaneous combustion. Like we decided to do this yesterday, and because of the time zones, and my brain thought that Miya was in Australia, I thought I had 7 hours. I only had half an hour. So please excuse the Thursday in the Spaceland. Welcome to another rough. Here we go. Okay, we got that sorted. So I am here with my special guest, Miya StarFire, and we're going to go down some rabbit holes today. So how you doing, Miya? Welcome.
Yeah, thank you. I'm doing good today. It's sunny today, and that's always good. So, yeah. How are you?
Oh, mate, it's not because of the heat outside, it's because of the running around getting this done, because for some reason my brain told me you were in Australia, and I thought I had plenty of time to do what I do, and then I discover, oh no, you got half an hour. So I'm good. I'm sweating. It's happening. I'm here, and we're going to roll this out. Now I saw a post you did the other day.
Mhm.
And this is why I've called it spontaneous combustion, because the topic that you put up was SA and trafficking.
Mhm.
Now, it's either a satanic abuse or it's sexual abuse. I wasn't 100% sure, but I'm right into the trafficking because I came from that background. So, what is it that you want to share in regards to that?
Yeah, well, I think that the sexual trafficking goes right along with satanic, um, regardless if it's done in ritual or not. But I just had a thought like, is there even a list? Is this just another distraction? Is this, all bullshit? Because I feel like it's been drug out for so long that we would have some kind of clear answers or names or something by now. And that doesn't seem to be the case. So, yeah, nobody answered me but you. So, and then it got taken down. So,
Yeah, that was really freaky. It's not the first time that's happened. I've gone in and I've responded to posts in different sites, and they don't like what's being said. It's like, when I was growing up, all this type of stuff was swept under the carpet. My grandmother said to me, if you sweep it under the carpet, it's called dirty flash. If you sweep
mhm.
it under the carpet long enough, that pile is going to trip somebody up one day. So get it out in the open now. In the early days, it's what happens behind closed doors should be stayed behind closed doors. But that's a crock of rubbish.
Yeah.
Because as far as I can see it, it's the stuff that happens behind closed doors that is the damaging part. And for 26, I am here to expose everything that I have been subjected to in my childhood, so that people can see and recognize what is going on, and they can recognize when they need to step in and say, I need to help you. But you can't, you've got to be so cautious and so careful that you get your facts straight and right at the start, because it is damaging. It's not just, I mean, what goes on in these families are, there's so many levels to it. Every single country, every single family. And if you don't wake up and open your eyes to what's going on out there, you're just as bad as those that are perpetrating. When you see it, we need to make a change. And the change starts with us right here, right now, in the families that we're involved in. If someone comes to you and they're bruised or they're battered or they've been beaten by their husbands or family members or whatever it is, it's time to start doing something about it. Don't close it behind closed doors and think the police are going to do something about it later, because they're just as involved.
Yeah.
Every government that I've been involved with and that I look at out there are involved in cover and condoning. And that to me is disgusting. That is part of a big pedophile ring. that's out there. So when you wrote that message there, oh mate, you just drew me in. You triggered so many different areas because at the end of the day, I don't want to hear bullshit. I don't
Right.
want to hear lies and this and that and stuff from people pretending or thinking that they've been through these experiences. You know, SSP, I love you guys for what you're doing, coming out and speaking out, but tell the bloody truth because I'm a real experiencer in these areas and I can only hear bullshit. I watched a video you did just recent, 7 months ago or something
Mhm.
about bullshit meter.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
truly, truly loved it because when you've gone through these different sorts of experiences, your bullshit meter goes off the scale. You can hear it a mile away. You don't even have to spend 5 seconds with somebody before you know that the stuff that's coming out is just dribble. So,
Yeah. I
fire
agree.
away, girl, fire away. Welcome.
Yeah. Yeah. This subject is not as extreme for me, but it definitely has run in my family. With the females being harmed and them having to run for their lives. My grandmother had to while she was pregnant with her first husband and then felt shame with the church. That's a whole other problem because she got a divorce, but she was protecting her life and her child's life. So, yeah, it definitely hits home. I've experienced some traumatic things in my past too. Um, no trafficking, but personal stuff, and it is definitely a whole slew of what did I do to bring this on. There's a lot of shame. I've never reported anything to the cops before because I always took it as this was me and my fault. So yeah, and I just want to know what the truth is, and it doesn't seem that we're getting any kind of truth. And it is sickening that the cops and judges and people everywhere that are supposed to be protecting us and children and families are doing harm and not being held accountable, not going to jail. So what are we really doing here? What is what is happening?
Yeah.
Um, and I've just kept seeing things about the list, and it's like it seems so much all about splitting us and dividing us and placing blame on whoever's name is being smeared at the time, but we're not taking a look at like who's actually being affected, who's still being affected, what are we doing to make any changes for anybody right now. And I don't know. I don't know what to say about any of it because I don't know how the goings on of politics are. But I don't think that it's anything more than a show and fame and power at this point. I don't really think it has anything to do with we the people at all.
Yeah.
So
When I look at it, it comes down to cover and condoning, to cover the asses of those involved in the bigger syndicates, government cover-ups, police cover-up. If you really look at it, we're all very aware of what I call the octopus arms, the tentacles, agency as they call it, and every agency has a sister agency, and they work to cover and condone the actions of those parties working in that facility. Now, back in the day, was going through what we call here ACC, accident compensation. And for what I went through, I discovered that I was in a program called the Exit Strategy. And everybody that was listed in the exit strategy were the counselors that were dealing with me. I was in the too hard basket. That meant that there were politicians, there were Masonic order, there was a pedophile ring, there was all of these different agencies of the government, both Australia, New Zealand, Fiji, and America and UK involved in what was going on in the child trafficking, the selling of children for sexual pornographic reasons, and so on and so on. And the meat market was very, very real. And it didn't just stop there, it also went into, I mean, I was not aware of all these different levels while I'm in it, experiencing it. And we're talking deep underground military bases, we're talking MK Ultra programming, Monarch programming. And I discovered later in my 40s that this was worldwide. This was worldwide, and every single level was connected to not just all these agencies, but also the experiences I was having that were interdimensional. You know, different beings being connected to different governments, such and such. And when I'm talking beings, I'm not just talking humans, okay? I'm talking multifaceted, multi leveled experiences going on. I came down to, okay, when somebody is aware of the truth and they know how to speak the truth, just stay talking the truth. You don't have anything to hide when you speak 100% truth. For me, I say 99 because that 1%, I don't know fully who I am. And because I don't fully know who I am, I feel safe in putting that 1% out there saying there's that possibility. So when I have that, I know that what I'm experiencing, there's always that other chance that something else could come in and change everything that I've experienced and seen, da 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 da. Now, growing up, it was what's the short term exposure? What's the long term exposure? What are the short and long term effects? This doesn't just affect you who's experienced it, it affects everybody who is around you. So the first part, the first unit is you. Next, your family. Next, your families. And then it goes to government. Now, when you find out that your family and your families are connected to the governments and they're all trying to cover and condone, you start discovering they're working in these different agencies. So that when you start to speak out, they turn around and go, okay, well, she spoke. We got to shut her down. Quick, shut her down. And this is what the repetitive patterns showed themselves to me personally through my experiences. I am very, very aware of we need to stop this. And the only way we're going to stop this is telling the ugly, talking about the ugly, talking about the hurt, talking about the deep rooted abuses, how many abuses that we went through. I cannot list the amount of abuses that I went through at the biological hands of what I called my mother and my father, my aunties, my uncles, my grandparents, and so on and so on and so on. You go to the police, they know who you are because there's those that are involved in it. My stepfather marrying my mother was a justice of the peace. All right. He knew what was going on. He was part of it. His whole family was part of it. They link all these groups together. Wherever my family went, I had to do a listing one day of how many schools that I'd gone to. And I have to personally put it out there to Misha Johnson, who allowed me to find this language and understand it because this is one of the things. They put out so many different types of languages, so many different terminologies and labels. We don't know Arthur from Martha, right? And once we start going, okay, well, that doesn't fit right, that doesn't sit right, we go, okay, now what? Just as long as you stick to your truth of your experience, that you remember how it took place for you, then the rest will fall in place. And we will get so many different targets saying, oh no, you're telling bullshit. We can prove you're telling bullshit. But the more they do that, I mean, I've had home invasions where people have come in right after I went to the police department. For 4 days, I was recording information that took place against me, against my personal body and will for my lifetime. After those 4 days, I was attacked. I was shut down. I was crippled mentally and physically, damaged. And it was like, now the government is going to use that to keep digging at you. When you become aware of what's going on out there and you say, no, fuck off, this is not going to happen anymore. I'm not going to allow this to happen. And then you see parallel universes. Like I went into an organization that I thought I was going to for support, for help. And this is how they get us. This is how they target us. They know our vulnerabilities. When you have to become strong enough to be able to recognize your vulnerabilities, your weaknesses, and turn around and say, hey, no, that's not working for me. I don't allow you to do that. And they do it over and over again. I don't watch TV anymore. Every now and then I'll step in and I'll look at a news report just to find out what the staged performances are about to reveal, and it's like I watched the Twin Towers and all of that, but right before that happened, we knew stuff before it happened. And then we went there and we watched it happen. And I'm like, no, 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 no. What's wrong with this picture? This is not real. There's so much more going on to this. So do you want to explain? Do you want to go? But we're going to do this raw. I'm doing it raw. I mean,
Okay.
I've never really come out and shared the depths of these predators, and this is government, this is medical, this is insurance, this is every division, right down to GMO foods, chemtrails, everything that they're doing to us. When they find out how strong you are, they know who you are. They know your past lives. They know you. And they're going to put you, this is just where I'm coming from. I mean, everybody can find a different, this is not set in stone, i.e. stone. Um, Everybody's experiences will come down to who do you care for? What is the programming? What can they use against you? How connected are you to your belief systems and your religions and all the other? These are programs. These are all programs. When we can turn around and say, well, that doesn't work for me anymore, and spend 5 minutes in it and move on, they can't get you. They will throw harder and harder and harder material at you, and you turn around and say, adios, amigos, because you can see them for their true colors. And you'll see in some of my statements, wherever the rooms I go to, if somebody's talking bullshit and my bullshit radar is on, I'll say bird post. So, you know, tell me about your experiences. How deep do you want to go in this?
I can be an open book as long as if people are sensitive, that they probably. I mean, I won't get too graphic, but my my sexual assaults happen at a very very young age, and I think that the first two that happened were by other children doing this to me. And my mom swept it completely under the rug. She didn't do anything but take me away from that child care provider whose older daughter was doing this, and she did it in a very public setting. We were at a public pool. So I feel like that was some kind of humiliation ritual. Also, get me confused about my sexual identity at like the age of 4 and 5, which who wants to, I had no idea it was happening, you know. Um, and the second time it happened, it was we were living with someone and that older daughter also. So this was like a weird pattern. I didn't, and come to find out my mom was also abused by a child when she was young too. So this is definitely like a lineage long bloodline, some kind of humiliation ritual, sometime kind of a shaming thing, because, how do you really prosecute a 10-year-old or a 12-year-old? And even in the 80s, that's what you did. You just talked to the parent, took the child out of the situation, and then that was the end of it. I didn't get talked to about it. I didn't get therapy. I was just left to my own devices. And what is a 5-year-old supposed to do with that? You just carry it on through. And so it followed me, and I eventually was, full on raped by men.
Yeah.
And several of those times I was completely obliterated because what I used to do was soothe my pain with drugs and alcohol. I didn't know where the pain was coming from or why there was this deep hole, but I was raped at least 5 times by 5 different men while under something and completely passed out. And how someone doesn't realize that you're passed out is beyond me. They had to have known. It's like a corpse, basically, So there was a lot of shame with that too, and a lot of confusion because I blame myself for getting that messed up and for having a problem with addiction. And I never went to the police with any of this because in my mind, it was all my fault. And I had never dealt with it. So, yeah, it's a long, I'm pretty sure my grandmother went through it too. I don't know about how far along back, but that's enough. So,
Yeah.
um,
Sorry, I don't mean to butt in, but you've hit a topic that's very raw with me, and it'll always be for the rest of my life. I mean, when we go into this, I mean, for me, I was born into a cult family, and right from a very early age, I was sold. Later on in life, I discovered that this happened to my father as well. He was in the Masonic order and blah 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 blah. But yeah, it felt like we were the first. The firstborn is always sacrificed, and a lot of families end up losing their firstborn, and that takes me back to the biblical side of it, where it is the firstborn dies. I'm not looking at it as the firstborn dies. I'm looking at it as this is a sacrificial. This is something that goes on apart from what we see as humans. There's another layer to it. There's another level to it. The bloodlines, the whole, if you want to keep going as a bloodline or a family, blah blah blah. And what you're saying is, if I when I was younger and I went through this, I mean, I started being abused right from, I don't know, as soon as I was given away. After 2 years of being given away, that's the first time things started happening. I was sold to be that, what they called an initiate, and that's when somebody comes along and does whatever they want to for a dollar, okay, for a buck, and that never stops. And then we're raised to say, we've been told, the mind fuckery is so intense because your family is telling you, you have to trust your family. You have to trust your lineage. They tell you that there's people you have to trust. But when that trust factor is destroyed by those that you were told that you had to trust in, by those you trusted to keep you safe. I mean, I grew up in a situation where I believed for a long time that this was a natural aspect. This is what we did. This happened in every single family. And it was only in my 30s, 40s that I realized this is not true. This is wrong. This should not be happening. Why is it still going on? Nobody really gave two tosses about any of the facts that went down. It's like, oh, that's historical abuse. It doesn't really matter because you're here today and you managed to get through it. And these government agencies will do their damnedest to shut you off at an early stage because they don't want to have to pay out. This is the exit strategy. This is the compensation that the governments turn around and say they're going to help. When you go and do a rape complaint or an interference or a molestation complaint, they take that information and they go straight to the perpetrators and say, "Oh, did you do this?" And those perpetrators turn around and come straight back to you and disable you. And this is what I see over and over again. It's about the programming. If you're not staying silent about the bigger equation of what's going on, they're going to attack you. And it comes down to, I went through a stage of, like what you were saying, guilt, blame, shame game. And they turn around and call you a slut. They call you this and that and every other. You brought it on yourself. Why do you dress this way? Why do you act this way? This is all programming. This is what I was brought up in, and this is how I had to behave, because if I didn't, I'd get the bash, and that bash came from your father, who was a pedophile, or that just in my case could be somebody else's. But, you get to a point where you go, no, well, that's not going to happen anymore. But it does. It keeps going on. When you can turn around, it happens in every organization. Every organization. It doesn't matter where you work. You're going to get some form of bullying, abuse, sexual harassment. We have to step into a place where we turn around and say, well, this is who I am, and these are my boundaries. These are my protocols. These are my power, my power. Don't break those boundaries, or whatever happens is your own fault, because I've warned you in the first place. The government agencies do not like us stepping forward and saying that this experience was wrong against me. You were there to protect me. You have not done so. You have not done your job. People of power do not like to be told they have not done their job in protecting anything. And it just continues on. So tell me, you were saying that this is a bloodline thing.
Yeah.
This is a bloodline thing.
Mm-hmm.
So can you go through the short term and long term effects? Because people need to know what they are. Mine, for instance, were short term. Oh, it happens to everybody. Don't worry about it. Get over it. Move on. You're still alive. It was just a screw. Get over it. But it's not just that.
Yeah.
It is the essence itself. It's the connection. It's I am a female, and I count as much as my male counterpart. So if we are divine, this is an amazing experience as human beings to be here. And we need to be able to turn around and say, I don't like the way that you are treating me. This is what you are doing to me. So what are your short-term and long-term effects? How does it affect you personally? How do you manage psychologically to get through knowing that's never going to go? You're never going to be able to shake that shit out of your brain,
Right.
and to make sure that you don't bring it on to your children, and so on and so on.
Short term was right away shame, guilt. Then it turned into addiction and depression and anxiety. Then it turned into, oddly enough, hypersexuality for some reason, because I felt like that's all I had to offer, that's all that mattered, and then that turned into my appearance is the first thing that matters, the only thing that matters. That came before anything, because all I had to offer was my sexual energy. And so that then leads to depression and anxiety again, because you're never going to be perfect. And, someone can very easily use that against you to hurt you. I do believe I had a lot of handlers put into my life to put me back into maybe not quite those situations, but make me feel small and oppressed and not in control of my body or my life or my soul, even at some points. I can't say that I had a husband that did actually rape me, but there was a point where I didn't want to, and it was pretty much forced upon me. It wasn't aggressive assault type of situation, but it was like, this is something I guess I have to do because I have a ring on my finger. So I guess that could be considered rape, because if you don't want to do something, you're being forced to by guilt or violence. It is still being forced. But the resolution I have today is I had to do some, deep looking at why I do the things I do. And there's some things that I still do that like. I still value my appearance way more than I probably should. And I think that all stems from that. But there's just a lot of like looking at why I'm doing the things I'm doing when I can catch myself doing it. And for now, I keep my kids pretty isolated in a bubble. I homeschool. I talk to my child, both of them actually, because it happens to guys too. So my 14-year-old is coming to that age where unfortunately, it's probably a subject that him and his friends talk about, and I don't want to ever let him be in a situation that he doesn't understand. So I'm very open with him about if anybody does anything to you or even says anything, I want you to leave the situation, come to me, if you don't feel comfortable telling me, tell your best friend's mom, like be very open about it. And it's okay to say no, and it's okay to get physical back with someone if you have to, like stand up for yourself. And if you cannot protect yourself in that moment, come tell me. I'm never going to look down on you for anything. I'm never going to blame you for anything, even if you happen to, thank God he doesn't do drugs or alcohol, but that might come into play. If you're fucked up and you're in a bad situation, call me. I won't be mad at you for being drunk or smoking weed or whatever. Like, just have mom come get you. Let me be there to protect you. Um, Fortunately, my daughter is a tough little shit, and I don't think that she's going to let anybody do anything to her. She pretty much picks on her 14-year-old brother. She's only 4. So,
Oh,
yeah,
shoot.
we're very open about what's okay, what isn't okay. Very, very open about talking, and very, even if she gets in trouble for something, we always make sure to tell her she's a good girl and that she made a mistake. Same with my son. It's okay to make mistakes. We're human, and that's what we do. So don't ever feel like you should be ashamed for anything. Is basically what I think the kids need to know, to not have shame or fear to come
Yeah.
to their parents. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a very big deal. I mean, when I awoke, if you can call it that. I mean, that's just a terminology. Um, I did my damnedest to make sure that none of my kids went through what I had experienced. And it is extremely hard because you've got your teaching, your sharing, and you don't want to damage that child. You want to make sure that they're aware there's things that others out there that may try to do this in one way or another. And then you have the peer pressure. You have the groups that the kids end up hanging out with and all of this other stuff. And then there's the drugs and the alcohol, and we've all done it. We've all done it at some stage, and I agree with you. I went through different programmings like, well, this is how, I mean, coming from the background I did, this is how you behave. You're a woman. These are your roles as a wife. If you get the bash, and this came straight from my grandmother, my mother's mother, if you get the bash, you bloody deserved it, you know. So and then I went from no, 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 no. That's not who I am. That's not what I want. I want somebody who's going to be my equal, who wants the same things in life as I do. We don't want to be abused anymore. And then I see the people out there who use abused situations for their own gain, and they jump in. They're like slugs. I call them the slug people. They come in afterwards and they, oh yeah, yeah, I want that. And then you get the next lot, and then the next lot you turn around and you kick them in the teeth because you've gone through it so many times now that you recognize it. You hear their bullshit. And this is one thing about the industry. When I call it the industry, I'm talking about the internet of bodies. I go into these groups and stuff and I hear these people talking. They don't have a bloody clue what's happened to them. They don't have a bloody clue what they're talking about. They just want to fit in. They want to be peer group stuff. They do not know how susceptible that they are when they put themselves in these roles and say, oh, this is going to happen and this is happening, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, if you're going to use somebody else's stories to get yourself up to a certain level that you want to reach, be aware that you're going to have predators come in and they're going to strip you. They're going to strip you from your emotions right down to your inner soul because they know what you want. They know how to do this. You have no idea what you're in for. And this is the programming. This is the industry that we're in. I call it the meat market. I used to, in my early days, I went to, so once I managed to, because I ran away from home, I managed to I worked my butt off at 13, 14, got an airline ticket, managed to get out of the, the fire, so to speak, but I wasn't aware at that stage of how far rooted these organizations were and what they were after and how I had been sold into the industry. And by doing that, wherever I went, I was followed, watched, targeted. And I can say to you to this day, I've gone out into my driveway and seen people sitting across the driveway gates from me in totally white vans with tinted windows, with devices on the roof, and you know they're watching you. You know they're listening in. I mean, when it comes down to this sort of stuff, we go, okay, well, they're listening in on our phones. They're listening in whatever way that they can. Helicopters circling up to 40 times in a circle, and nobody thinks anything's wrong with that. Police arriving on your doorstep when somebody's just broken in and saying to you, "Oh, Are you going to deal with this?" And it's like, come on. Where are the facts to this? If you organisations are out there to protect us, why are you guys not doing your jobs? That's absolutely despicable. Now, when it comes down to short term and long term effects, you've got the psychological brain meltdowns because when people turn around and say, well, it's your fault, you go, how's it my fault? It's the way you dress. You look at the programming that's out there. Women are meant to show off this and that because of stimulation for the male population. But, in saying that, I have to also say, in the industry that I was in, I saw just as many males being abused as females. Just as many males kept in cages as females kept in cages for breeding programs, for whatever situations were out there. And it was really happening. I saw military coming into a local, basically a population of about 500 people, and they're still there. And that was connected to a Chinese deep underground military base 25 Ks out of the main city. I saw, well, seen, and I'm still seeing places that we grew up in, the names of the townships have been totally wiped off the map. They've changed the names, they've changed the street names. How many people live in the community? Every major community will have an Edward, a prince, a princess, a queen, or a king street. All of this stuff is done, what I'm seeing as an energy signature. And this is way more than just the abuse that takes place or the psychological damages that take place. When I was investigating myself, basically I was going to a shrink and I've gone to 3 or 4, and over the time they do the same thing. They tell you that you're safe now, nothing else is going to happen. We want to know the details. And what do they do with the details? They send these details to a bigot organization of covering and condoning the Crown organization or whatever your country is under. And I say, if you're under America, you're under the Crown. Okay, and right now the crown is non-existent because it hasn't been for many years. As soon as they changed the dollar bill went from paper to plastic, you'll see that the head of your state or whatever your representative was at the time was changed. You were lucky if you saw the head of the crown on that actual fraud money system, fiat currency. What a load of shit that was. When you start seeing what they've done to us and how they've traded us on the market, in when I say close proximity, I'm talking about immediate. I'm talking about family and then different cycles into the public and so on and so on. And then you go into the government agencies that because you have this psychological issue, you need to go to this department. This department will give you 6 or 7 labels or even spectrums. And when you get these spectrum stamps, then you go to the doctor, the medical system, and then they give you the medication for that spectrum. But you don't have that spectrum. This is just this is what I'm seeing as the long term, short term. When I went through it, I didn't know I had all these problems, all these government issues, all these labels. I was doing my best to survive. And I went through some situations of being gang raped, not once or twice, but over and over because this was an initiation. This was, is she going to talk? Is she going to reveal this organization? We need to make sure she wasn't. So I was sent to these locations, and then it was just hammer, hammer, hammer. What are you going to do about it once you get out of it? I ran. I left from one country to another country, thinking I was safe coming back to a safe country. I only discovered that I basically went into from the fire to the fry. And then when I woke up one day, I went, no, I got to leave. I got to leave. And I watched them haunt me. I call it haunting because they followed. And it didn't matter where I went. And this is what I'm saying now. Everything that they used against us as kids and did to us as kids, now they're doing to the masses out there, the MK Ultra, the different forms of programming. Now they're using the internet. They've had this forever. And I'm going to go hard this year because people need to wake up to everything that's going on. This isn't just the physical, this is the soul aspect. I don't have relationships with people anymore because I don't want to be around them. I don't want to hear what they're going through. I know that sounds really horrible considering what I do for a job. But it is, when it comes to my immediate, they know me well enough to know that I've spoken the truth right from the start. And they don't want to be part of that. They don't want to admit that this shit goes on in their family. But without you coming forward and saying, well, this actually took place, and naming names and naming the short term effects, the long term effects, you talk about the anxieties. I went into that, I'm labeled as GAD, general anxiety disorder. I've got CPTSD, complex PTSD, post traumatic stress disorder. And
Mhm.
this is the stuff you get when you go out and you see people killed. I've seen people killed. I've seen children killed on ritual. You were mentioning about the SA. Was that sexual abuse or is that sexual? Is that satanic abuse?
Well, it was the sexual abuse, but I also do think all of it's satanic related. But yeah.
Yeah. I look at it all as energy harvesting. If you they know who we are when we come in here, because for me personally, I've proved myself reincarnation. When I've come back in reincarnation, I can see what I'm susceptible as from, and they'll use that against me. They've put me in situations where my organic vessel has been susceptible to different frequencies, different interactions, da da da, and they've used it against me because they're aware of it, that I'm not aware of it. And so the guardians, my parents weren't even aware of it, and this is just a repetitive pattern. When we become awake and aware to the information of what our experiences are, then they hit us with a reset. And I see this reset happening. We can't forget what we have experienced, and we have to be able to feel confident enough within ourselves to be able to speak it without with going into the categories, because now they have AI. They've always had AI, but AI now is going to establish a what I call a plagiarism. So anybody out there who's using AI to write their stories and do all of this stuff, and they get into this, and I've done this, I've fallen into this category where I've started using it. I used it as a spell checker because I'm a ratchet spell checker. I have my own spelling. But I started trying to use it for my drawings because my drawings to me are bad, but I'm a bad critic for myself. But other people can see what I'm trying to put in these drawings. Now, anybody using AI is going to get hit with plagiarism. That's going to be the excuse to burn the books, to burn the true knowledge. And we're going to have to go around and do this whole thing again. And I want to stop those repetitive patterns. Now, short-term patterns when it comes to the psyche, when we've been abused, is we have to get through the whole nobody loves me factor.
Yes.
What is love? I have to perform certain categories because that's what I've been taught I have to perform. And that is, you put a ring on your finger because you got married, he owns you. That's
Right.
the program.
Yeah.
That's not consideration. That's not compassion. That's slavery, as far as I'm concerned. And when you go, I don't want to be a slave anymore, you get the pressure. The pressure comes on you. And the long-term effects is I don't want anything to do with any living member of my family because they all covered and condoned the actions of their brother, their sister, their uncles, their aunts, their parents, and that is despicable to me. Absolutely despicable. And it's not going to stop. This shit is not going to stop until we all come together and say, what you did was wrong. Admit it. That's all we want. Is you to bloody admit that you did this and it's caused. I have no connection with my siblings or my nieces and nephews or whatever they've got, their kids and so on, because of what my grandparents did, what my parents did, and so on and so on. They want to allow that to go on. They want to intermingle with with those types of people. Adios. I don't want anything to do with you. Whatever happens to your family and so forth is your own bloody problem because you didn't step up to the plate and say, hey, wait a minute, that's not correct. So if your kid comes to you later on after you not standing up, you can't bitch to anybody. You got to take accountability for your actions in the now and in the past. So, it's like long term and short term. This is huge. Nobody's going to give a shit what we've got to say today in 10 weeks from now. They're
No.
not going to care, you
Yeah.
know, unless they wake up and go, oh my God, my granddaughter, my great granddaughter has just come to me and told me they were raped by blah, blah, blah. But it's just going to blow over because they'll keep going on in life. I know people who were affected as infants. They have no recollectual information of what actually took place, but the body remembers. The body reacts. And these are the long term effects that nobody talks about. Why do people suddenly have a reaction to somebody who looks like an abuser, but they don't know the abuser? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Go on, you jump in. I don't want to take over the whole show, but
Okay.
it's not so much a passion for me. It's more of it's time. It's time. I'm not going to be held back from who I care about around me, doesn't want this information out there because it's going to affect A, B, and C. And that's been the whole problem. We have been long-term effect and short-term effect concerned about how it's going to affect those we give a shit about. You know, all the peer pressure and stuff. No, 2026, we need to be blunt, we need to be open so that we can turn around and say, you need to protect yourself in so many more ways than what we're aware of, because they're using it against us. It's not just the loosh, it's also, because the loosh is a really big important thing about it, is like when you're in your innocence and this takes place, you're not aware of what's actually being taken from you. And this is aging us. It's not that I want to live to be like 200 years or anything, but you know what I mean. Go on, you jump in, girl, jump in.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that the sexualized programming, the making women feel like they have to be a certain way, it's like that. It's part of that tribal instinct too. They play off because back when we needed a man for protection, and the men needed us to take care of the children to prolong the generations, but we don't necessarily need that, but it's still that innate feeling inside of us like, oh, I have to perform so I can keep my protection. I feel like we need to realize that we can protect ourselves now. It's a whole different ball game. And what was the other thing I was going to say? I completely lost my thought. I'm so sorry. You said so much that I completely thought.
I'm
um,
sorry.
yeah, I'm so sorry. Yeah, that was just one of the things that stood out to me was like it's deep, all the deep programming. There's so much. Oh, the slavery, the what marriage slavery. That's one reason why I won't ever sign that paper again, because I feel like, and it does take ownership, and even the woman can feel like she owns the man because you have this stupid piece of paper signed by somebody with a fucking robe that doesn't even remember who you are, and filed away somewhere. And then the whole process of getting a divorce is so messy and expensive. And, you don't ever know what's going to happen in the long end anymore because things change by a weekly rate at this point. So I feel like it's safer to just be like, you're going to be my mate forever and I love you, and that's all we need. We don't need a piece of fucking paper. We don't need another document from the government to hold us accountable for whatever the fuck they're going to hold us accountable for, taxes, numbers, whatever. So yeah, that's one of the reasons, because I did notice that happening when I did get married. Was it was like automatically, I own you, I can tell you what to do, and I fell for it. And then I also felt like I owned him and his actions, what he did and said. And that's not a healthy relationship. That's not a companion you want to live and then eventually die with. That's corporation, right?
Yeah,
And that's just another birth certificate. I feel like it's just another certificate for the corporate whatever in the whatever spectrum to have another title of you and now this other person. So yeah.
yeah, I agree with you on that. It's like when we do fall for it, and I've done it, you get it's a stigma. It's a stigma. You are Mrs. You are, what's your surname? It's not surname. It's sire name. Who sired you? And
Right.
now you've moved into the new sire's name. To me, that's slavery. I don't want to be owned by my partner. It has to be an an equal adventure. We're doing this together. And I say every year, in any kind of relationship, whether it's business, whether it's personal, whatever it is, it's every year or even every 6 months, as soon as you feel that if you're giving 50-50% equal consideration, because you're both here having these experiences, one can't be monetizing over the experience than the other one. And when you go, okay, well, what do you want from this year of our connection? You know, I want to be in this connection with you because it works for me. You know, you bring a certain amount of energy, a certain amount of understanding. You hear me like nobody else does. And you have to be able to allow yourself to get through the shit to be able to find that inner personality of each party. And when that connects, then you start working, okay, well, this is a partnership. This is a partnership. And this is the experiences we want to get from it. And you share it that way. This is what I call, I don't even like the word marriage because it's all corporation. Everything is corporation through the church, through the religions, through everything. They're taking accountability. Oh, well, these are what you're going to sire from this relationship. But at the end of the day, none of us really truly know what our ancestry is. They've got all these different programs out there like Ancestry.com and Genie fucking ology and all of this other stuff. But at the end of the day, none of us actually truly know where we come, where our parents come from, where their parents come from, because there's so many resets and so many what I call cabbage patch tolls. These are what I call genetically modified and engineered humans that get put into wartime families or orphanage families and so on. We don't know where we truly come from. And until we start admitting the truth to ourselves and to our families, then we're going to continue living in this corporation lie. You know, this is a corporate lie. Well, it's corporation, it's corpus. Okay, this is a dead lie. This is your straw man identity. When you're born into a family and your family aren't aware that when you sign a birth certificate for someone, you're actually selling your child to the corporation being that of the state. I mean, if you're not aware of what I'm talking about, go out there and have a little look at straw man identity. It may be another one of these sideline distractions. But until we can recognize all the programs that they're using against us, we're not going to be able to get the full picture. They give us little bits and pieces so we can continue going on with this. And it's at the end of the day, how many of us are still stuck in Stockholm syndrome? We can turn around and say, well, I'm having this experience. I'm experiencing all these visions. And then these visions take place. I can see all these different beings. Can you see them? If you can't see them, this is what I can show you to see them. Don't tell me I'm crazy because I can see them and you can't, because I can accept the fact that you like such and such for dinner and I'm happy to go and make it. But can you make it for yourself? Can you make it for me? Can you share the same input? And when you can't, you've got to go, okay, well, I need to re-examine. I don't like anything to do with marriage. Marriage is a government, corporation, institution. And these institutions don't work out how many people are getting divorced because they feel like as soon as you can have a really good relationship with someone for years and years and years, and then you decide, well, we better make it legal. We better go and make it legal because we're going to have kids and these kids got to have a legal name, blah, 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 blah. But it's not like that. You go out there and you can turn around and say, well, this is what I'm moving into, and you are of this relationship. But if you turn around and tell the government that, no, I don't, they want to know who you are so that they can send a bill to someone.
Yeah.
All right. Anything you do as a female in a marriage goes to the husband. And the husband comes back and tells you, you can't behave this way. You can't do this. You can't do that. You're affecting my family. You know, it's like, what about mine? What about my family? You know, and to me, it's what is corporation? What is your relationship? What are the areas that speak out and say to you that it's not equal? When you feel that it's not equal and you can't communicate with your partner or whomever you're in that relationship with, then it's not a relationship. It's not a relationship. It has to be, to me anyway, 50-50. If you're going to go and do something that's going to not just affect you, it's going to affect your partner. It's going to affect your children. It's going to affect different circles when these children interact. One of the things my grandmother said was, be very careful with what you name your child. And she wasn't talking about the first name. She was telling me on her little code messaging that it's about the surname, the sire name. It's not a surname, it's bullshit. It's a sire name. Where were you sired from? And this comes back into the bloodlines. There's way more going on to the equations that are out there than just getting into a relationship with someone, getting pregnant, getting knocked up, having a child, getting married, and being in that relationship. These don't work. These don't work out. You've got to have, from what I've seen, and this is all speculation, at least 3 relationships before you get into a solid one, before you know exactly what you're looking for, what works for you, what doesn't work for you. And we all make that. I know the people that I'm aware of make that mistake of going, okay, well, this is what I got to have. I got to have this picket fence. I got to have this 2.3 children. What the fuck, 2.3 children? What does that mean? And a dog and a cat, and it's all rubbish.
Yeah.
It's programs.
Yeah.
If you've ever been raped, you've got to go and expose yourself to being raped. You got to lie on that table. You got to spread your legs. You got to let people do this an invasive investigation to see who raped you. That's to me, that's rape as well. That's part of it. Anybody who sticks any fingers anywhere or touches you in any way or says anything to you that is not cohesive to your wellness, your, moving forward, progressing, that's abuse. That's abuse. I have to turn the computer off. I don't watch TV anymore, but every now and then I will hit onto the news to see what the games are at foot. Because we're in such a performance that is out there. And if we get caught up in being abused, whether it's once, 100 times, how many ever times, to psychologically mess with us, balance us, be able to use it further on down the track, then they won. And to me, that's not going to work. We have to be on our guard 24/7, even with those closest to us. We have to re-examine what is working for us, and the minute it's not, if you can't speak out to those that are your partner, who's doing this journey, this adventure with you, then it ain't going to work. It is not going to work for you. So, yeah, I don't know if I went off track or not. I always go off track. So
It's okay.
this is the whole.
Yeah. I was going to bring it back to the name. Why the women had to take on the men's name. It feels like more oppression for feminine and suppression of any kind of divine feminine. Because why don't you take my name? Why don't we just keep our fucking names? Why don't we morph our names? I don't know. There's so many different things could have fucking happened there. Yeah, I never liked that. And I'm pretty sure that everything that's ever happened to me and everything I've chosen to do or was laid in front of me for me to choose was for me to lose myself or my life. Like, I'm pretty sure they thought I would have done myself off or lost my goddamn mind. Or gotten so guilty that I would just be completely programmed into the whole, all of it, the matrix, the programs, everything, like become like a walking drone that just agrees with everything. But that was never going to work for me. I think that they knew that was never going to work, no matter how bad I messed up. I was always going to do what I felt my soul needed to do. So, but I do think that they saw me offing myself or overdosing or something,
So,
for sure.
so how's that happen? How's that work for you? I mean, I know in my earlier days, and it's sad to say this, but where we come from and what we go through. Yeah, I've tried to do that as well, and I got to the conclusion that I was a coward. Everybody called me a coward for trying to off myself, but I had so much stuff up here that I couldn't analyze. It didn't work with me. Nobody could help me with. And when the small little trigger came up, I'd lost a kid, I lost a couple of kids, and I was at my wit's end. I couldn't handle being constantly treated in forms of abuse, constant over and over again. And I did every possible thing I could not to be abused. What was I doing wrong? One of the messages that always stuck with me is, I brought you into this world, I can take you out. You're never going to amount to anything, just be somebody's good wife. The only job you're ever going to get is work in a supermarket or a dairy, stacking shelves. That's all you're ever going to be good for. And I found myself always trying to prove that I was better than that. And this is where one of the problems comes in, is we try to prove to those that apparently we care for or have a position of authority for, that we're going to be something better. We're not going to be all of the stuff that these people just shut us down to be. Okay, now I just got to try to figure out how to stop this from going across the screen. But yeah, it's like, no, we don't need this anymore. There's more to us, and we have to learn to respect ourselves so that this stops happening.
Yeah.
I
I
mean, with
agree.
the surname, the sire name, that comes from a corporation. They want to know, okay, if it's not going to work out and the government's going to give you X amount of dollars to make sure they support this family to rise again because they're wards of the state. But they don't tell you that you can also um, inherit. You can also inherit stuff. Okay, you jump in for a minute. I've got to try to stop this thing from going
Okay.
across the screen.
Yeah, I that statement you made about you're never going to amount to anything. I don't know how that became such a widely common used term, because that was used on me by my parents. They literally came up to me one day when I was, I think, 16 or 17, and we're not going to help you go to college. We don't believe that you can do it. We don't have faith that you'll actually graduate. We think that it's going to be a waste of money. And that hurt, I think, more than some of the sexual stuff did, because these were my parents and they were supposed to protect me and guide me and believe in me. That's something we all, I think, want, is for that belief in the people that are supposed to be caring for you and raising you. And so that stuck with me. And so I've learned to not take what other people say um, to heart so much that it affects my life. I might get upset, but I don't like carry it. This carried on to lots of choices that I made about myself. I'm only going to be like a waitress or something. I'm never going to amount to anything. My parents don't believe, like, they've known me my whole life. So why would I even try to go to college? I'm glad I didn't at the time. But, at the time in the 80s, that was the thing, or the 90s, that was the thing to do, right? But it was disheartening, and I still, to this day, even though I know the things I know and have done the work I do, I still to this day try to prove to my mom that I'm a good person, because I
Yeah,
have so much guilt and shame from the damn trauma she put on me in the first place. Like, I
yeah,
made so many mistakes. It was like a domino effect. And then I was trying to always prove to her that I'm better than all of the mistakes I made because of the way I was treated. But I didn't realize that was what was happening. I did finally get her respect by standing up to her for the
yeah,
first time about 6 months ago. Um, But I still find myself trying to, like, oh, I'm doing this, and then I have to step back and go, well, what does it fucking matter what she thinks about what I'm doing with my own children? Or like, it doesn't matter. Yeah, so those programmings run deep. I don't even know how it got so widely used, especially because I know that my grandma probably said it to my aunt, because my aunt was the black sheep at the time. Um, so yeah, I don't know. Or is it like actual subliminal messages around, like that one movie, They Live?
Oh yeah, yeah, yep, yep.
Like, is that? I look at some of the billboards, like, what does that actually say?
Obey.
Yeah,
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 yeah. That's the biggest one that steps out is obey,
yeah.
consume.
Consume. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and it is absolutely like that. It's like, okay, you have to. We're taught to respect our elders, speak when spoken to, be seen but not heard. And this sort of behaviour, and that's what I put into the category of the meat market. That's sale. That's a sale of goods, and it's I see where they came from, but that doesn't mean that I have to follow suit. I can turn around and say no, that doesn't work for me. And at one stage, while both my grandmother and my mother were still alive, I turned around and said, no, I don't like what you did. You did not stick up for me. You knew what was going on, and you even accepted payment. And you need to be, admit that to me, that that's what you did to me, because you didn't do it to the rest of my siblings, so why did you do it to me? And it's like, no, I'm not gonna play suit. You're not gonna have anything to do with my offspring, because I don't want them to go through what I went through. And for a very long time in my life, it was the one that was stuck with me is I did it because I loved you. So that killed love. That
Yeah.
that just totally took away, and I had to reprogram. I had to deprogram myself from all of these aspects of all of the hurt that was done, because I don't want to put that onto my lot. And so, and then like when I took a step out, and my lot were fully aware. When I say my lot, I'm talking about my offspring, my immediate families, that I was not going to subject them, but I'd already had subjected them, because my upbringing made me hypersensitive. I was concerned about them going on school trips. I was concerned about them doing A, B, C, and D. I was concerned about, oh, where's my partner? Is he actually at work? Is he actually cheating on me? What is going on? Because if I'm not working with them and I can't see what's going on, I mean, this put me into an overprotective state. And so I wasn't living for me. I was living for everything else that I was seeing going on. And it happened over and over again. I was, my partners, ex-partners, cheated on me, and I knew. I just knew. And it was like, well, I'm being honest, and I'm clean, and I'm looking after everybody, and you're going out there and doing that, then what am I doing wrong? Because, and then it was like, well, this is just what happens. You have to allow this. You have to let this just go, because this is how it is for males. And I'm like, what a crock of shit, excuse my French. But if I'm putting in my 100% to build this relationship and make it work and make us grow and go the places we want to go, then, and you're doing that, then you're sabotaging what we've got. Why should I have to be the only one having to deal with this? Because I have to pick the pieces up if we separate, and I've got to take care of the children. I can't just give you the kids, because if you're already out there doing that, then what the are you going to do to them? And it was like, this was a constant, because the programming is, we're the mothers, we're the caregivers. We are also the protectors of those children. And at the end of the day was, well, they're now adults. They can do whatever they want. They know what they're up to. Adios. It doesn't mean that I don't give a shit. It just means I do not have to. One day we wake up and we say, we no longer have to be the victims. We say no to that. That does not work in our best interests. So then you go, you look for those that work in your best interests. And 9 out of 10 times it comes down to, what is your participation in this? My mother wasn't there for me. She was there for herself. My father wasn't there. He was there for the dollar. My grandparents weren't there because they were in old school programming. And then you go into the education system. The education system tells you, this is how it is. This is the information you need to go and get a job. But it's not updated. When they're now telling us every kid in every home and every school has their own cell phone, I remember a day back in the day when we were at school, mate, and it was like they brought in calculators. And it was
Right.
like, oh no, everybody's got a calculator except for you and me. You know? And it's like, you're behind. You're the poor family now because you don't have a calculator. And then
Right.
it went to computers, and then it went to cell phones, and it's like, come on, what's the next thing? You lose all your living rights as a living individual. You're the one having the experience, but you're now being governed by technology, AI, artificial intelligence. That artificial intelligence cannot tell us how we feel having a living experience, whether it's whether it's rape, whether it's gang rape, whatever it is, whatever the abuse form that comes in, AI cannot register that as a feeling state because it has none. It cannot recognize what we're physically going through, what we're mentally going through. It's only going by the input that we put into it. So tomorrow I'll sit down, I'll write up, da, 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 this is what happened to me, these are my feeling states. You put it out there, wherever you put it, AI is going to see it, feel it, sense it. It's not really a feeling state, it's an artificial feeling state. So when they come back, oh, we relate to what you're saying. We know, oh, we feel sorry for you. That is just another perpetration of what we've already experienced. It's not working. I went into a show just recently and I'm really disgusted by it. So disgusted that I have no intention of ever going back.
Mm.
And when you have guests on your show that take over your show and use AI phone app to tell your other guests, what they're saying and where it comes from, you're lost. You're
Yeah.
lost in the system. Don't come back to me. Don't ask me permission for shit because you are disgusting. Take accountabilities for your participation and actions. If you're going to be a host, you be a decent one. And
Right.
so, yeah, I know that was just a throw out towards somebody I've got a little beef with at the moment. But this is what it's coming down to. If you can't analyze what is getting thrown out there at us, then you're going to get swept up in that wave and get washed away. And anything that you've experienced to that point is going to be pointless. It's not going to help you in any way because you're already gone. And we're seeing a lot of that. So I say in this time and age now, be very aware of, what about you? What are some of the signs people can look out for to make sure they're not reoffended?
Reoffended? Is that what you said? I'm sorry, you correct.
Yes,
By abuse? Is that what you're referring to? I got.
any form of abuse that comes your way from going into another group online, from
Mm,
from from the government agencies, from your own family members, from are you? I'm asking everybody in the audience, not just yourself, Maya. But when you go into any group setting, even when you go to the supermarket and you don't expect to bump into somebody and boom, you do,
right.
it's I personally don't give anybody any information that I bump into out there anymore.
Right. I don't either. It's very, very topical, surface level shit. Like, oh, nice day. Okay, bye. Um, I, I feel like it's well, because most of it's superficial anyways. Like, I don't talk deeply with anybody outside of the little, group of people I trust, and
Yeah.
that's it. Um, and I sure the fuck don't trust anybody I live close to, because I see and know about them. But I have feeling state. Like, how does your body feel? Don't make yourself comfortable if it doesn't feel fucking comfortable. If you feel sick to your stomach, if you're feeling repelled by the situation, then that's my first clear signal. Now, I do on occasion see a red flag, have a bad feeling, and try to be like, okay, well, maybe that's just, blah, blah, blah. I see that they're trying to be good, or a good person, or a good association, or whatever the case may be. They seem like they're trying to be helpful. They seem like they're having a good heart. I tend to bypass those signals, and then I think I made a post about this. Like, the universe goes, "Okay, bitch, are not going to listen the first time. Here you go. Here, here's your dumbass card, and we'll slap you on the way out too." Like, um, yeah, like, pay attention. And I've recently had to learn a hard lesson, and it broke my heart because I put a lot of trust in this person, and
Yeah.
told them a lot of things. And I did have a big cry about it. I knew I had to release it so I could let this person go on their particular journey, but I didn't want to be in that journey with them because
Yeah.
they were not um, on the same path as me, which is fine. But I don't have to subjugate myself to um, certain things and people and manipulations. So I've already experienced that enough. My mom still tries to do it. Yeah, I don't need to be manipulated anymore. So yeah, the inner feeling, and to really pay attention to that, and don't give too many huge second chances. I mean, there's little ones, but there are some things, spirit or the universe is clearly trying to show you. So,
So how would you tell the audience to, the newcomers? I know that everybody that's in our group right and watching us right now, and thank you everybody who's come in and is sharing this with us, because yeah, I know you lot get it. I know you lot get it, because you wouldn't be here otherwise if you didn't, and you're hanging out. So how would you tell those newcomers how to watch out and what is manipulation?
um, wow, that's a big question.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
well, I do. I feel like a lot of us, because I went through it coming into this community topics. I don't even know. I guess it's a community. Um, there's a certain amount of initiation that has to happen, because usually you're coming from a part of, like, waking up to the truth, being upset or traumatized by a situation, finding some kind of a dark night of the soul. Something is happening to make you realize uh, there's more, and the truth, and more things. And so you go and you go look for the answers, because you clearly don't have the answers if you're first waking up. And so all the glitz and rainbows and lovey-doveys, they feel good. It's like, oh, finally I can feel good and safe in this idea or perception or concept or people. And they all come off very nice and well-meaning. And
Yeah.
um, there's a lot of talking you into things that don't sound good at first. Like, oh, it costs this much because I'm having to blah, blah, blah. When really you're getting ripped off by a con artist. But, anyways,
Yeah.
um, there is a bit of initiation. And I would tell people to look for the ones who are asking the hard questions or saying the hard truths, especially if you have no idea that there are slime balls everywhere. Because I didn't. I thought this was safe. I thought everyone here thinks like me and is wanting the same thing. That's not the truth. It's a breeding ground for parasites and pariahs because we are. Oh, did we lose her? Um, because we are so susceptible and usually traumatized. So look for the ones who are asking hard questions and the rebels of the rebels. There you're back.
I don't know what happens. You know how it works.
I can talk.
If we touch on something too sensitive, I'm gone.
Mhm.
Go on. Sorry, I'm only missed about 3 words, I think. So
Okay, yeah, just look out for the ones who are ruffling the feathers, not in a mean way, not a psychopath like hitting on someone and making lewd comments, but some, look for the ones who are saying the things like, "Well, that doesn't sound true," or asking questions that um, people don't necessarily want to answer. I would say look for those people because when you're new in this, you need people around you that are going to be upfront and honest and call people out and call you out too. Like, well, why is this that? I think that that's helped me tremendously
yeah,
because um, what do? You just stop believing and accepting everything. You just run away. No, you've got to weed out the bullshit. Um, but so yeah.
yeah. I mean, we've got to all be investigators. We've got to investigate anybody who comes along and starts talking. We go through this. Okay, it's trust is a really big thing. I don't have any trust. I don't have a trust factor, and I'm happy to turn around and say I don't have a trust factor because it allows me to get past the programming of fake trust, you know, and it's like, oh, I'll do whatever you want. I'll do this. You want to do this? Recently we had an experience, and there's several of us who know what I'm talking about. We had an experience where, these beings will come in and they know exactly what buttons to push because anybody I've encountered has some form of programming, a trigger that can be triggered, and it just takes one word and you watch them lose it. Boom. And now where I'm at is I look at people, I watch their behavior. If it doesn't sit right, I'll just say straight up, where did you get this information from? How did you come about this information? How did you get in this situation that you are in, to see where the whole programming has played out for them? I mean, we're all in different countries, and that in itself is programming. You have to pay money to fly from A to B. You've got to show your permission slip entering into another country. There's all these borders and the boundaries and so on. But when you take all of that away and we could freely come in and out, there's a certain level of respect. You respect the land you're coming to, you respect the community that you're in, and then you move on. You take something positive, and when you can just see negative, 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 you go, well, I don't want to be in this location because that doesn't resonate with me. This is what I want to bring to this situation. Yeah, I've been through all of that shit and everything else, but it's made me wiser. I mean, I could live as a victim. I could live in that victim mentality, that victim state of this is always how it's going to be. But it's not always going to be that way because that's part of the program. You, as that person who's experienced it, can step out of that experience and move forward. And as soon as the telltale signs start to show themselves that it's heading in that negative way, you turn around and say, no, hey, wait a minute, and you question it. I say question the questions. Where do they come from? We know that there's so much more to, oh, wait a minute, I'm going to ask this question. Wait on, where did this question come from? Is it coming from me or is it coming from an outside source? Now, I set myself a boundary. I set myself a target and a boundary, and that is stay in my truth, stay in my most authentic truth. Now, today, the truth that I'm aware of and everything that I've experienced, tomorrow it can change. Something new can come into the equation and change everything that I've gone through. but I'm still going to stay in the truth of the experience that I lived. And that's where, everything is, it's a constant, we're constantly analyzing. We have to become our own detectives to
Mhm.
be able to go, I've seen people that I really, I thought I really respected and I really liked, and if I've been stood up or there's been um, like today, for instance, for some reason I thought you were in Australia, and I thought I had 7 hours, so I had plenty of time to create a banner and do this and that, and then when I spoke to you, and I'm like, oh shit, boom, 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 boom. I just had to go hammer and tongs to get it out, and there was no bullshit involved. It was just one of those things that was okay. I got it wrong. I got this wrong. Da da da. And I'll be the first one to step up to the plate and say, "Oh shit, I'm totally sorry. I made a mistake. This is where it lies, and this is where I'm going to move forward from it." If you can see somebody who's going to advance themselves after making a mistake and correcting that mistake, then I give them that benefit of the doubt. But then if it's repeated time and time again, nah, come on, get real. That's not going to wash with me. When I turn around and see that one person playing the same con games on everybody else out there, it's like, hey, come on, wait a minute. When are you others going to wake up to this? Hey, you gotta step back, and you gotta also be able to say, hey, wait a minute, let's have a group meeting over this. This is what's going on. This is not working for me. Is it working for you? Because if you're working with someone who's happy to tell lies and bullshit and continue that pattern, and you're happy with that, then I don't want to know you. I don't want to be part of that. I'm aware of what's taken place, and I'm not going to be there standing around waiting for you to catch back up to me later on down the track, because you've already done what you've done, and I can't give you that second chance at doing it again to me. And this is one thing I tried to tell people. We've got, what have we got? We've got normal food bias, and what's the other one? Oh shit, I forget the other one. I don't know why, but I forget it very easily. But it comes down to, we have to be able to say what works for us and what doesn't work for us. And I for one will question even a shopkeeper. Why did you charge me this much when the stamp over here says this much? And if they turn around and start, I have actually gone into dairies or supermarkets, or whatever you call them, wherever you are, and bought something with someone, and I've watched the other person get ripped off. And I have had to say to the tiller, the shopkeeper, why did you charge them that when this is what's here? And there's a whole queue, and I'm one of these troublemakers. I will call it out. I will say, hey, wait a minute, show me the receipt. Look at your receipts, because we're being charged for stuff that we're not even aware we're paying for. So do look at it. Look at everything. You got to look at your packaging to see what foods they're putting into us, because we're being poisoned. We're being shaped and poisoned and fattened. We've had the jibby jabbies. I call it jungle juice, and it's changing us. It's putting us into a synthetic system that the living organisms will not be able to cope with. So once you've gone through all of their experiments, and I say this with the psychological aspect of whatever forms of trauma you have gone through, and it can go from watching somebody being killed to killing somebody, to depending on who, if you're working for the government and you're in the army and you have to go and kill the enemy. And these are programs that we've been led into believing our forefathers did this, and we're standing up protecting the people of our country, but the country's not standing up and protecting us. The leaders, not naming names, will go out there and shoot other continents and say, oh, they've now picked somebody up, but it's actually a form of kidnapping. But who's going to turn around and do something about that? That's just another form of trafficking. This is government trafficking. government staged trafficking. And we have to be aware of what's right in front of us. I'm a no mercy. I take no prisoners. If you wrong me, that's it. You're out. Just piss off. I don't want anything to do with you. If I tell you FO, you know what that means. I'm not going to go back to that because I learned a long time ago that you're only going to turn around and repeat the same actions over and over again. You can't, it's not going to work with me. You stand in your true, authentic self and allow that 1% of, you don't know yourself 100%, you allow yourself that 1% so that if something comes up and you believed it wholeheartedly, and then you see that it's not wholeheartedly, you admit it and you make the proper changes so that you can move forward. But if you don't admit it, you don't move forward, and you're going to turn around and blame everybody else, you're going to use transferable anger on others, it's just going to keep going on where we're going. People are still going to be injured left, right, and center, whether it's physically or mentally. And this is why we're here doing this today. And I 100%, 99% appreciate you coming on today, Maya, and being, having this spontaneous combustion. When I do the spontaneous combustions, we're going deep. We don't know where it's going to go, but we're talking from the personal, deep experiences that has transformed who we are into what we are and why we do what we do, why we think the way that we do. Government programming isn't going to last much longer as long as we step up to the plate and say, hey, wait a minute, I question that. Where did you get your information from? Just the other day, yesterday, because of my skill base, I'm able to go in and find a photo, backtrack it, and find out exactly where that photo came from, who took it, who published it, who owns the rights to it. Because there are people out there now, and this is the latest scam that's going around, just be aware of it, is organisations are going to turn around and say you can't use their material because of plagiarism, copyright, etc., etc. But when you go deeper into it, you find out that their words don't mean shit. All right? They don't mean shit if it's not sent with the right to your ID. If it's just dear whom it may concern, they don't know who you are. That is a scam. If they don't sign it with both their full name and surname and their company details and contact details, it's bullshit. It's just there's so many scam artists out there that are putting in information into this AI system to be able to turn around and scam us. We need to be on our game constantly. And this is the part that really pisses me off is this is not an existence. To look around and see the trees suffering, the landscape suffering, all animal and mankind suffering, our air has been changed. We got to go, okay, we can't be fighting amongst ourselves. We got to be, just tell the friggin' fucking truth, and then we can move forward from that. We can see who we can work with, and we can stop all of this other stuff from happening because they are terraforming and destroying the planet that we all have in common. And we need to be able to do something about it because our governments aren't, the militaries aren't. I know some really good lovely people that have gone to the military because of family lines, family generations, programming's out there. You got to do this. This is what you got to be a doctor. You got to be a psychiatrist because your family members were. You don't got to be shit if you don't want to be. You want to go out there and do singing. You want to go out there and do writing. You want to be an actor. You want to do whatever you want to do. Do it because you want to do it, not because somebody else dictates to you that this is what you got to do. All right, and that's the first part. That is the first part. Allow yourself to do it. If you suddenly are coming out of the closet because you're gay or you're bisexual, as long as you're not perpetrating the innocence out there, then I don't have a problem with it. It's like Yeah, move on. Your turn. Yeah, I mean, I know Maya knows where I can go with this, so Maya.
Yeah, I do believe that we need to stop the stupid fighting and the lying, especially now. I feel like that was part of the point of putting certain people in certain places and certain channels or certain, I don't know, it was to break us up and make, make it harder for us to come together and find truth, find actual logic and critical thinking, because it's all, fuzzed over with crap and bullshit. Um, and also, you said something about the military line. My family has a strong military. I almost got sucked into, but again, I'm the black sheep, and my inner self was like, no, you're not going to do well at boot camp or having some stupid man in a suit tell you what to do. So, I mean, I took the ASVAB and everything, but yeah, no, something inside of me, thank God I listened to it. But yeah, that's definitely a deep programming. My dad's side has like almost all, how many kids? Four of the six children he has are all in the military of some form, Navy, Marines, Army. Yeah, so it runs deep. Again, where are the the subliminal messages? Except for that, this is what your grandfather did, your great grandfather did, and everyone somehow looks down on you if you don't have some kind of stripe or badges. But
Yeah,
yeah, but
yeah,
yeah, I think that we need to do a lot more inner stuff. Uh, Focus less on the outer bullshit, the stories that are fantastical eyes or fantasized. Like, I know it all seems um, amazing to think this or that, or you're speaking to this being. Like, I want them to live here too, but am I going to tell you that I'm being visited by beings, and or that I'm completely channeling through like all these beautiful messages? No, because I don't know who the fuck is in the sky. I have no idea. I just
yeah,
know that I see them. I don't know who's standing next to me and poking me in the shoulder either. um,
yeah,
and I don't think that and many of the people that claim they do know actually know either. I think that the real stuff has to be looked at, the real work, the real coming together, not like the storybook version of what is being sold needs to come to the forefront and to all these channels and communities. But
yeah.
yeah, that's yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I was going to ask you a question. Okay. Um, when it comes to that aspect of it, I agree with you on it because I've only ever had one of my beings tell me their name or a name, and it wasn't actually their name, it was actually something more I had to look into, I had to research more for the next level of our communication. And so I've given them nicknames like the Flasher, and that was because of the form of communications that they were giving me the downloads in. I can't tell you where they come from. I can't tell you what type of species they are because we don't have time for that. When they come in, there's a download, there's a communication, and there's an action. And that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. I move on, I get the action done. It's like if I have a night terror, I don't look at them as a terror so as per se. I'm now at a, I've been at this stage for a long time. It's an accessing a different dimension where informational work has to be done, and that's where I go, I do it, and I come back and I get out of that state. But it doesn't mean that I know their names or any of this information. Just recently, a chap put out a video of a green orb coming in and going underneath what they call I mean, this is what I know it is. I'm not in America. I don't know shit about America. Um, but it was the St. Louis Arch. Now, about, what is it, 26? So 3 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, I did a remote viewing class, And in that remote viewing class, I drew my picture and I drew an X marks the spot. And in that spot is exactly where this bloody thing comes in, goes under this arch, and totally vanishes. So, so we have abilities that we do not recognize because of the amount of distractions that the government agencies have put out there so that we don't get in touch with ourselves, so that we don't acknowledge, and this is a very important key, is acknowledging that inner self, that inner voice, being able to recognize the difference between the inner voice and the MK Ultra voices, Voice to Skull, and all the other programs that they play. All that stuff is very real. My big beef at the moment is Epstein files. What a crock of shit. I don't believe that he's dead. I don't believe that this should have taken the amount of time that it's taken. This is just stonewalling, gaslighting, all of the bloody labels that the psychological side of it will throw it out there to target people who have been victims in these types of situations to keep them distracted from everything else that's going around them, everything else that's going on around them. And there are a lot of different scenarios going on. I have never seen one proper pedophile be taken down properly. Okay, and as for the victims, when the pedophiles do get removed from society, the 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 the, the victims are still victimized for the rest of their life. There's no real form of government agency that's going to come out there and give us the truth and put us in the right aspects and help us in the areas that we need help in. I know people have gone through this sort of stuff and drunk themselves to death, committed suicide, have actually gone out and become perpetrators themselves. It is a really big thing. The government has a lot to be accounted for, a lot to be blamed for, and it's it comes into every home and family. That's not just about the pedophiles, because to me, a pedophile is anybody who is trying to abuse you or use your free will against you. When I hear that terminology, anything that you do and say can and will be used against you. It's the will that is used against you. When I was growing up, there was this science project that was being taken place of it, and the first part of this test was read the instructions before you go and answer. And 8 out of 10 members in the class failed because they went straight to the first page. They didn't read the instructions, and the instructions told them right exactly what to do. And it's like, okay, this is NLP programming, and I see a lot of people in these different communities using, even if they're aware or not aware of it, they're using it because this is what they've been brought into. They've been taught this way. They don't even know that they're part of the whole Stockholm syndrome, and there's many levels to it. So, coming into, where does one develop the hurt from? For me, in the work that I've done, hurt equals expression. When we're shut down or we're told that we're wrong, don't speak out, don't put your hand up, don't answer a question. What you've got to express, whether it's spiritually or otherwise, is not accounted for. It doesn't mean anything. But if you're going through a government agency, one thing they'll ask you, and it's got nothing to do with what you're experiencing or why you're even there, they'll say, what are your belief systems? Now, when they do that, what they're doing is they are targeting what your belief system is, because they can't work with the other material. Everything is a game, okay? A game is at foot. We are the investigators. We are the ones that are on. I had to put my whole life, whole experiences into an adventure. Otherwise, I don't think I would have been able to get to where I'm at right now. All right. And I'd like to say I've got my head screwed on pretty well, but I have my moments like everybody does. So what would you say for people to watch out for? What are the signs of forms of manipulation from, whether it's somebody in your own household, family? And also, what are the signs to be concerned about if you think somebody else is being abused sexually, mentally, physically?
So manipulation for me, it's always, not always, most of the time it comes down to that person always being a victim. So the constant victimization and never taking an accountability for their part in it. That's
Yeah.
always my one of my big signs, because that's what I've experienced personally. Um, and the signs as far as someone being abused. Well, if that child is showing any odd uh, sexual behavior out of nowhere, like a young kid shouldn't be showing or being interested in that. Um, the extreme shyness, needing to isolate from adults or older kids instead of just running up to them and being a chatty, free will uh, child, and the obvious like bruises and flinching would be a huge one, but I don't know if that happens too much anymore. I don't know,
Oh,
but
yeah.
yeah, those would probably be the biggest ones I would look out for now. Like a shameful feeling, like coming off of a child for no reason, would be, yeah, hiding.
And okay, so what about for me? I watched all the influences. The influences being television, cell phone connection. You know, like they connect to their peer, peer groups, whatever they're watching on their cell phones. I mean, they have more children today, and everybody has more accessibility to the internet and what's going on out there, whether it's truthful or otherwise, and their behaviors will respond to that. In the old days, we watched soap or sitcoms on TV, and that basically changed. Like those that were stuck at home raising their children would watch these programs, and then they would expect their partners to treat them the same way that what they saw on television. Peer
Right,
pressure, what I'm calling that. So then
right,
it comes down to, okay, then we've got the bullying tactics, like you don't dress a certain way, you behave a different way at school, the children at school want you to be this or that because of their programming and their situations. So I mean, you were saying about the flinching, that still happens and it's very strong, and I do still see it in the supermarket. I will
okay,
see parents going up to their children and their children going, or, and it's a big thing. It is a big thing. And it either says they're being abused or they've been abused. You've got to be very cautious about what we do see and say. And if you don't have enough information, don't go jumping in, because it just may be speculation, and it may cause the family units a hell of a lot more shit than necessary. I've worked as an advocate and I've seen it come across my desk. So we do need to be very cautious, and you need to be able to create a trusting environment for that person to be able to come back. When you can get to a certain state where people can look in your eyes and know whether you're telling the truth or not, whether you're trustworthy, whether or not you're going to help them out or otherwise. And if you get to that stage, you can also see that perpetrators will also be able to see this too. All right.
right,
Um, oh, mate, there's so many areas we can go with this. Um, Now I'm just looking in the chat room, and there was some discussion about the spirituality aspect of it as well. I mean, everything for me personally, and I want to hear your opinion on this. Anything that happens here on Earth, whether it's through your visions, through you're accessing other dimensions, mind control, and all of this, they've got the whole circuit mapped out. And this is my mindset, and this is the only way that I can function, is that they know everything that I'm going to do, say, interact with, all of it. But I have little codes that I don't even say to people, so that when information comes back and it's touching on one of my codes, I have to question, how the hell do you know that information? Where
right,
did you get that information from? Well,
right.
about the code aspect for over 20 years. If you don't, when you have an experience, and I recommend this to everybody, when you have these outer body experiences or dimensional experiences with other beings and so on, because we live in a multi-dimensional existence here, and everybody, as far as I have ever encountered, will have something, one or another, whether it's ghosts, angels, demonics, whatever it is. They would have had something that has changed their perceptions and belief systems. Now, in knowing that and being aware of that, there's also those that being police, they've also got the same infiltration going on in those realms as what we've got here. So I'm very cautious when I get signals and information or ships going past or whatever. I'm still very cautious at what I'm seeing, hearing, and sensing, because I know that all of these can be manipulated at the same time. So for me personally, I have to be very inner aware of what my feeling states are, my sensitivities to it, whether it's a bump in the ear or a tickle on the face.
Mhm.
What are you on the are you in the same area or?
Yeah, I do make sure to, okay, how am I feeling out here? Because, I'm in the country and I'm not like in deep in the woods, but anything could happen to me and no one would know. So I have to pay attention to how I'm feeling for that reason, like nature, 3D nature. And also, I don't know where these beings or crafts are coming from. And I do know that it's not all positive or good. I know that there are negative. I know that I've had negative experiences that I don't quite remember. Um, so I make sure that I'm feeling okay. Am I happy? Am I excited? Or am I feeling scared and nervous? Did the tree branch drop over there and I'm jumping? Okay, if that's happening, then my body's telling me that because you're jumping so easily, even though you seem excited about what's happening up here, maybe it's time to cut it short and go inside. Uh,
Yeah,
because
false sense of security going inside the little box that they've
right,
designed. False
right,
sense of security. I know.
right.
Yeah.
That's only happened a couple times. Most of the time, I don't jump at noises, but if I am jumping at noises, my body is telling me that I'm not supposed to be interacting with unknown things right now. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and you mentioned something about a code and how do you know that information? And it probably maybe it has something to do with it, but been noticing a lot of my phone reading my mind down to like exact pictures or exact words that I know I never use, never use, and I'm wondering, is the phone reading my mind or am I somehow picking up stuff that it's going to show me, or is it both? I don't know. Is that what you meant by the codes, or yeah?
Well, with the codes, it's like nobody else will know them, not even those closest to you. This is yours. Okay. If you think about it too much and you have a partner that you sleep with, and I'm a very strong believer that, we have our auric senses, we have our auric fields, and when you're in bed with somebody who has their own and the two come together, there'll be these sporadic connections that you're going to get information from each other. and
Mhm.
and this is one of the aspects when I do relationship counseling and stuff like this. It's not really counseling, it's just awareness of, and it's basically somebody can go out and I like that, and you have that fantasy go on in their head, come back, get into bed with their partner, and the fantasy is going to seep onto the other person through the auric connection, and that person's going to pick up on that and go, oh, you're having an affair, and they start having a fight and all this shit happens. So when we become aware of what's actually going on between the two, then that eliminates a lot of it. When it comes down to, okay, this is my code and nobody else is going to know it, depending on if you're sleeping with their partner, they're going to pick up aspects of this code if you're constantly thinking about this code. When I go out and I'm communicating with Flasher and other beings out there, I can feel them and sense them before they come in, and I'm out there I'm waiting for their arrival, and I'm like, I'm here, and I gotta go. And they flash me. They already know what I'm thinking. So if they have the ability and the technology to know what I'm thinking, where I'm at placed in this the false sense of security,
Mhm.
then they can also tap into the technologies that we have. Now, in this group that I was saying I was pretty disgusted in, this is what this chap was doing. He was taking my words, putting it into AI, and AI was spitting back the communication I was having with said beings out there. But I can't believe that because this is AI technology. You know,
Right.
AI now follows. I mean, if you're a people reader, in the past, I would sit at bus stops and I would watch people go past. And it was like I was delving into the way they walked, the way they dressed, the way they carried themselves, their personality. I could read them within a couple of minutes. And when they sat down next to me, I knew just what to say to them because I had been able to pick it up from over there to this point. And I feel that is exactly the same with the level of technology that is out there now. We are in several domes, as I see it, and then we have all of the satellite technology around us picking up on this information that we already have and sending it back to Earth. So eventually, when everybody talks about the bombs going off and here and there and places, that is old school technology / programming. The technologies that they've got are so much more superior. They can push a button and a wave would wipe over this planet and we're all gone,
Mhm.
or specific breeds. We saw a whole lot of birds fall out of the sky one day, or a whole lot of sea life come out of the ocean. And they say, "Oh, it's an earthquake." I put it down to signature frequency. They know our signature frequencies and are able to manipulate them. The mind thought onto the phone and so forth is no different to that. What is it? Voice to skull technologies. We have modems in our homes for us to be on the internet to do this. Now, these modem routers aren't just a device picking up and sending signals. They're also scanning us. All right. You walk into a supermarket, you see these two bars on the side. They're scanning devices. They can tell you what you friggin' had for breakfast, whether you've got a tampon inserted or worse. All right. So it's like, I'm just putting it bluntly. They have
Mhm.
got so many different devices out there that can pick up on our brainwaves and
Yeah.
manipulate them. All right. So, and we are very connected to the moon. We are very connected to the tides and the weather formats. When they play all these games with the weather, they know when we're at our best, at our peak, and when we're at our worst. And if
Mhm.
they want everybody to be in a depressive state, they'll drop the temperature. All right.
Mhm.
If they want you to be, I mean, I'm looking at the jungle juice. You know what I'm talking about, and
Right.
I see the jungle juice is spiked with heat, and the first thing people do is run for temperature drop down, the ocean, the shower, the baths, and as soon as they do that, it's like boom, blades come out, and these people suddenly you have um, people dying in their bathtubs or drowning in the sea when they've been expert swimmers all their life and all of this other stuff, and there's no real cause of death. Okay, they can't identify it, and I am in a strong feeling state that it's got to do with the spike. It is not the spike of DNA, it's the spike of nanotechnology on how it's going to behave, how it's going. Every parasite has a life cycle, and its life cycle is to eat and reproduce.
Mhm.
Eat and produce. And I see humanity, and I'm sorry to say this, but this is my reality, predator prey reality. That is us too. I mean, there's so much more to us, absolutely. And there's so many more things that we're capable of doing, and our abilities are off the charts. And as soon as we start kicking into using our abilities and becoming aware that there's so much more to our ability, and we want to do that, we want to know about that, these other forces come in and do their best to hijack it. Our sleep states, hijacked. Everything is hijacked in one way or another. And so when they put us in an early stage of victim mentality, they use that through our entire life to stop us from developing the abilities and the sensitivities that we actually have. I see this planet as just, we're here for a temporary amount of time, but we can make this into our Garden of Eden because everything communicates. So if you have that code in your head or that word in your head, I mean, try it for yourself. Pick up one word in your head that describes something and see what shows up within the next 4 to 5 hours of you coming up with it. I used to say to my friend, "Oh, this is a really good invention. Let's come up with it. Let's do it. Let's do it." Don't tell anybody about it. And neither of us will even put it on the computer or anything like that. But within that 24 hours, we'll suddenly see, or something will come up on our desktop that will say, "Oh, it's already been done." So I look at us as a humanity, as every creature on this planet, as having a hive mind, because we are connected as frequency creatures. And these other beings out there are very aware of the abilities that we possess and the abilities to tap into it and hijack us.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm going with the code, with
Yeah.
what you're saying.
Okay, I'm gonna try it. See what happens.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Anyway, I'm looking at the time. Is there anything else that you would like to cover right now? Or we can go on to thanking everybody for coming in and being part of this. The role that you play is very, very important. Just, as long as you can stay firm in your authentic truth and allowing that truth to change like that, okay? Being able to say you're growing with your truth, your authentic truth. Today, what you know today will be different tomorrow, allowing that growth to take place, allowing yourself to be able to identify what is not working for you, those that come into your fray and try to disrupt you in any way. You are able to stand in your power, your mana, and say, "No, thank you, that's not going to work for me. This is where I am at. Adios," if it doesn't work. Be truthful and honest and protective to those that you care for around you. And, there'll be times when you won't be able to help them. They have to find their own path. And if you can be there, like in 10 years' time, I might be totally different. I will be. And I might actually have a relationship with those that I turn around and shut the chapter on, being my immediate children. And it's like, okay, well, this is how we grow. This is how we learn and share the experiences together. I say to people that I'm in a 50-50 relationship with anybody that I do anything with. And as soon as that frequency changes, I'll be the first one to let you know. If I need to take a break, I step back. And when I do that, and so that way, when we do come back into a connection, we're able to share that without words. We can just belly laugh. Because we've been there, we did it, we experienced, we moved on, and thank you for sharing that experience. The other thing I say is thank you, everybody, for being who you are in the experiences that you are having, because by you doing it, I don't have to. I've gone through what I've gone through so I can share it point blank, 99% truthful, honest, straight to the point. That 1% being, I don't know who I am. I can't tell you honestly 100% who the fuck I am. All the journeys I've done and everything else, I can't. And if you could admit that too, then we got something we can work with, and we can grow from there. We can look at what comes in and doesn't sit right with us. So thank you, everybody in the audience who's come in and joined in today. Much appreciation. And anybody out there listening, yeah, these are hard conversations, but we need to have these. We can't be mollycoddling or covering ourselves in cotton wool for anything that might come in. It's time. We need to, it's tea time, okay? Transparency, exposure, and accountability, and the time is now for it. So I have much appreciation to Miya for coming on and just speaking straight from the mind, straight from the experiences, and this is what I expect of everybody who comes on as a guest on my show. Miya, do you have any last words? I mean, we're going to do this again. We're going to do more shows like this again. But Miya, take the stage.
Last words. Just, I guess, I don't know. There's said so many words already. I think that we all need to, the spiritual bypassing. I do it to myself a lot. I know we do it as a community a lot, especially some of the bigger channels. I think it's okay to look at the hard, ugly, dark stuff. And even if you have to isolate yourself for like a day or two to have a cry, to look inside, to write it down, I think that needs to be happening more, because there is no healing if everything is just glitter and sunshine. you know, just talking about this stuff today brought up a lot of stuff for me personally that I know I'm going to have to take, take another look at. So I would just suggest that for everybody else too.
All right. Are there any last questions or from the audience to Miya or myself before we wrap it up? So I'll give you a couple of seconds. I'm really fast at this. But there are a lot of different areas that we can cover. Oh my God, we will save it for another time. But I would recommend going to Miya's site, Miya StarFire at youtube.com. Myself, I am both on. This will probably be moved over to Rumble, Ramblings, and we have a few guests coming up in the near future. So watch out for the live shows. I will probably be doing another one this afternoon or tomorrow, depending on whether I can cope with today's one. So, okay. Any last questions? Anything else you want to throw out there, Miya, about what you've got coming up in the future, or anything you want to share?
Well, me and Jay are going to try and do our show together, I think, on a weekly basis. We are going to be on Coley's channel on the 18th at 7 CST. And for now, that's all I have going on in my brain. I can remember.
Yeah, I don't really. Look in the links, subscribe to both of us. We don't charge, we take by donations through PayPal. Any comments, all comments are looked at and given honesty at the end of the day. So we'll close it up there. It doesn't look like there's any questions. Thank you, everybody in the audience and anybody in the future to listen to this. Thank you for coming along, and we will see you again. Thank you. Much appreciation, Miya, for coming on and being deep rabbit hole and getting this out, because this is not just going to help them. This is also another form of healing for both of us. So, much aloha for that. So thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. And that's the end. Go and enjoy the rest of your day if you can handle it. All right. Okay. That's me. I'm out. All right.